Alrighty, hello everyone. My name is John Lewandowski, and welcome back to the Podclass podcast, where we talk about all things from education reform to tech entrepreneurship and just being able to travel around the world. So today, joined by Francesco Rulli, a leading AI tech entrepreneur within the crypto exchange as well. And yeah, so Francesco, how did you get started in this business?
Okay, so I have a little bit of a crazy story. If you Google my name, you'll see there is a Wikipedia page that talks about my background. The reason is because back in 2001, I was introduced to John Malkovich, the American actor, by a good friend, an ambassador from the United Nations. His name is Mohammed Shakir Bey. And John and I decided to start a clothing line called Filipino Anko Kimono. For 4 years, we worked together, but at the end of 2004, to 3.5 years, basically, we decided to close this line. We were in Milan, and John was very upset about some film distribution deal he was getting out of California from LA. And he explained to me that who makes the money in the movie industry or film distribution platforms or companies. And that was December 2004. I called up a dear friend in Florence, and I said, I want to start an online film distribution platform. And we launched 5 months later, the company called Filmonics was my first technology venture. So out of a conversation over breakfast with John Malkovich, I had the idea to basically create the equivalent of YouTube. YouTube launched in March. I think we launched in May, and we progressed very fast. Then we decided to build an ad server, and we were actually a year ahead of YouTube on launching an ad server. Basically, it's a technology that allows you to see pre-roll videos on videos. We focused on not user-generated content, but professional content from shorts and some feature films that made it to the film festivals, but never got broader distribution. We built a very nice network, 40 million users a month, 50,000 filmmakers. And then in 2011, we had NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, contact us to distribute 2,000 videos of peacekeeping efforts projects. I mean, things that we're doing in Kosovo, in Libya, and in Afghanistan. I saw a video of a woman, her name is Roya Mahbub, and her colleagues in Afghanistan. They built a classroom in the University of Kabul. So we were making good money, and I told my brother, why don't we give back a little bit? We contacted Roya and her team, and we decided to sponsor the construction of schools. So all those information I'm sharing, they're on Wikipedia because we started with John Malkovich, and then we got into this crazy business of online film distribution. And then we, for a philanthropic reason, we sponsor schools in Afghanistan. We had over 20,000 young female students working in this program, basically studying how to become financial self-efficient. And our goal was not to have a Malala who is publishing on BBC and then she gets shot in the face, but to create 20,000 Malalas that were financially self-efficient so that the families will protect them and they would bring actually monetary value to the families. And we decided to educate them, but then we couldn't pay them because there was no PayPal. So that's when in 2013, we introduced the payments in Bitcoin. And ironically, there is a book called The Age of Cryptocurrency, written by two former Wall Street journalists, Michael Casey and Paul Vigna, and they give us the preface. So the first 8 pages of this book, they talk about what we did, in which it was no speculation with crypto. This is the year of the next halving, so everybody's going to be very excited about it. But it was about the use case of using it to pay people who are unbanked. Those are teenagers
Impressive.
in Afghanistan, both. 2016, we started having some problems with the bureaucratic system of Afghanistan and some issues with corruption. So we decided as a company to transform our classrooms into chatbots. So we were hosting with an IBM affiliate. We had IBM Watson, so we built chatbots to communicate, and we replaced human teachers in 2016 with artificial intelligence powered by IBM Watson. Then we started introducing Microsoft Lewis as well. We built a company around it called Querlo. We built over 17,000 conversational artificial intelligence solutions. And today we're an official partners of Azure, Microsoft AI, and we implement natural language generation with Microsoft Lewis, servicing both philanthropic initiatives as well as for-profit projects. So that's where we are.
What does the future look like for education, for philanthropic purposes, as well as what could young entrepreneurs who are coming up in this new digital age really, do to take advantage of that?
Okay, so I just came back from Europe. I spoke at the European Parliament, and there is an opportunity, but there is also a big challenge. First of all, the large language models, they have a tendency to have hallucinations, and which is a nice way to talk about lies. Okay, so at one point, ChatGPT told everybody that I used to be a former soccer player. There is no trace of that. Has never existed a Francesco Rulli soccer player, and there is no relationship to that. So you can call it an hallucination, I can call it a lie, but whatever it is, it's the eloquent guest that will be very well spoken, will be able to talk about any topic, but there is a possibility that something that comes out of its mouth is fake, right? The eloquence make it charming. So people fell in love with that. It's also much more affordable to build. When we used to spend 100 hours to build a decent NLU solution, natural language understanding, now it takes 5-10 hours to build the equivalent. But you
Wow.
have to be really good at blocking the doors to those hallucinations. So to make sure that the knowledge base you use is reliable, is large enough, but is not too large. It's just like having a child. You can't feed a teenager too many informations. It looks like an adult, but still is in the learning process. And even adults, right? Fully grown adults need a certain pace of learning. So the same things goes with artificial intelligence. Then there is the other factor, fake news. The future is now wars. What's happening now is crazy between Ukraine and Russia, between the Palestinians and Israel, but it's going to be fake news. So the big threat is the fake news that are going to attack the middle class, not the presidents. It's okay if there is fake news about any of those presidents because you expect that. But when people like us will be affected, then you will really need to have your official channel so that people know who you are, and that's your official statement, right? So it's going to be interesting. When I was at the European community, I said, guys, every representative here can be a target. Every mayor can be a target, and, so it's going to be a little bit of work to create your own official channel. Like you have your own official LinkedIn page, you have to make sure it's the right one, because if someone creates the
Absolutely.
fake one, then there is a problem, right? Artificial intelligence is a journey. Most people think about intelligence and they get scared. So we like to call it digital twins or conversational digital twins because it's a little bit more egocentric, maybe. So you think about your avatar that might look like you or look like someone you would like to be. But when you talk to anybody about AI, they are afraid of the word intelligence. It's very hard to make money with intelligence. It's much easier to make money with stupidity. So if anybody wants to be in the business of making a lot of money, don't get into AI, but focus on stupidity. So there's a lot of things you can do. But AI is very interesting because it allows you to understand better where the problems are, and you have to focus on questions more than answers. So questions in AI are more important than answers.
And do
So
the bots learn from those questions that you put in?
they do and they don't. There is, NLG is more about creating good answers when the knowledge base is good, but you as a human, you have to be proactive to find the right knowledge base. Okay. The programming, unfortunately, most language models are still black boxes. So I saw a few months ago the CEO of Google saying that we have to accept the fact that Bard is a black box. I don't agree with that statement. I think it's ludicrous, but that's what it is. They could protect their own intellectual property, providing us an eloquence without giving us the coding that necessarily influence that, reliability on the hallucinations. I don't personally like hallucinations. I have to navigate with that, just like there are people out there that you meet in a nice party and tells you something is not true. So you have to do your fact checking, and you have to find those little groups of people that you believe. So the knowledge base can be improved, making sure that the source it's already more reliable than just grabbing stuff from the web for the sake of it.
Absolutely. And over here at Podclass Pro, we enjoy the classical way of learning. So we're big fans of ancient philosophy like Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and all those groups. I had noticed in the presentation that you had with the European Parliament, you were showing off some historical chatbots. Do you mind telling us a little bit more about that? We find that fascinating.
Yeah, so basically, I'm originally from Florence. So I grew up thinking of people like Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Dante Alighieri, and even the controversial Christopher Columbus now has been one of the subjects we have been working with. I believe that the best way to judge a person and to learn from this person, even if it's dead for a long time, is actually to talk directly with this person. So we embarked in this journey with the Duomo of Florence, the Florence Cathedral Museum. Monsignor Verdon, who is the head of this museum, is originally from New Jersey, actually, has been lived there maybe 50 years. He was leading the research with three of his colleagues, and we built with natural language understanding Michelangelo. Then following to that, we built Leonardo da Vinci independently in collaboration with a company called CESA, who is a $3 billion technology company from Empoli. We built Dante Alighieri for the city of Florence. And we expanded with the collaboration with the municipality of Genova in the construction of Christopher Columbus. And through that construction of Christopher Columbus, we established a relationship with a collaboration with the National Italian American Foundation based in the US. And then from Genova, we also created a living mayor of Genova, that is Marco Bucci. So the goal here is to use natural language understanding and natural language generation tools and language models to communicate directly with personage of history and allow also us to find more research so that if there is a question that doesn't provide an answer. The most common question to Michelangelo has been about his sexual orientation.
Really?
Now, let's explain this. ChatGPT says that there is no information on his sexual orientation. That's not true. Michelangelo wrote sonnets for Tomasi de Cavalieri, who was a nobleman from Rome. Our natural language understanding was trained by the Monsignor Verdon, who represents the Catholic Church in Florence as an expert also in arts, saying the truth that Michelangelo had a love for a man. This happened before Pope Francis announced that the Catholic Church is okay with gay marriage now, right, or relationships. So it's very interesting. The question was so solid and kept coming, that even someone from the clergy had to come to terms. So we had to provide the real answer. And the real answer was provided through artificial intelligence
Wow.
before the official statement of the Catholic Church. So ironically, ChatGPT, who doesn't want to take positions, is saying, well, we don't have information on this, and which is bogus because there is clear information. Now, after the death of Michelangelo, they changed the nephews, changed the gender on the sonnets from male to female to just fall into the politically correct. So basically, they transform his sonnets into a little bit of a fake news information. But if you look at now also this whole thing about gender identity, you can say that changing the sonnets resolved in part the problem. But the use of AI allows you to gather those information. And I've been telling a lot of researchers on arts and Michelangelo's life, if you were to write a book about an artist's sexual orientation, you probably sell more of those books than if you just write about the inspiration behind their art. It's a combination of who the person is. The second question is about who are the famous people he dealt with. So let's put it this way, influencers of that time,
Absolutely.
what he liked to wear, what he likes to eat. And then it comes the arts questions. So to a certain extent, AI also allow us to humanize conversations because some people would not raise their hands in front of a researcher and ask any of those personal questions. It's much easier through an artificial intelligence.
And can the AI bots like scan through a bunch of different files, different layers of information to be able to formulate these answers? Like how does it come up with the answers to these complex questions?
So our process is with natural language generation, so the language models of OpenAI or BARD, we sometimes access those information through a website. Usually those are more marketing oriented. When it's research, we actually get files of documents like we did with Christopher Columbus through the researchers of the city of Genova. Professor Airaldi provided us pages of information, and we feed it through those. And the artificial intelligence is capable to identify the parts that are pertaining to that are good for the answer, but sometimes we do some fine tuning. It's a process in which allow us to improve the knowledge base because not all knowledge base is in a format that is clearly digestible for the language model or that is economically digestible, because if you give too many information in long sentences, then you're burning too many tokens to acquire the information you need. So sometimes we do just like they do with a book. We create little chapters of information, categorize those, and we only update those little sections instead of long form stories.
All right, fantastic. And one final question for us here today. A lot of our members at Podclass Pro are of the young entrepreneur group. So, what would your recommendation going forward for using your software for many of our young entrepreneurs who'd like to expand into that area or maybe have those kinds of bots to better interact with their clientele, customers, and maybe even get some new ones?
So Querlo is a chatbot builder. We are technology agnostic. We work with anybody. We provide the features that are not available on the large language models, like embeddability, serving images and videos, escalating to human, all those little things that eventually come available later in time, but we already have that available. Our main feature, the feature I like the most, is the router that allow us to decide when we call one language model instead of another. If we want to do a deterministic conversation, natural language understanding, or natural language generation conversation, or if we want to serve some questions to Bard and OpenAI or someone or Microsoft Lewis or IBM Watson, right? And from outside, the chatbot looks the same. In the back, it triggers different models or different large or not large language models. There is no coding, so it's very easy to use. We also do a managed service where we build it for the client, and then we just allow the client to worry about better knowledge. Sometimes the client wants us to even manage the knowledge. So we have a little research team that finds the answers to the questions if the client doesn't have the time to do that. And that's how we work. I think it's extremely necessary for people to learn how to use this technology. And when I was at the European Parliament, I brought as an example what happened on 2001 Space Odyssey, when the two astronauts wake up in the middle of the journey, they can't go back and they can't get to the end of the journey. They turn and they start talking to HAL 9000. And HAL 9000 was the AI in charge of this journey, but they didn't know HAL 9000 was programmed to survive at all costs. So when they decided to turn off HAL 9000, HAL 9000 eliminated them. The failure here was the lack of information of the two astronauts, how to deal with the programming that had been done of HAL 9000. So we're in the same paradigm today. If we don't learn how to use and write and improve ourselves with AI, we are at risk to be eliminated by the AI itself. So there is no choice. Everybody has to start using that and be a little step ahead of what technology provides today. So we can't afford being lazy, right? So that's it.
Absolutely. We've always said here at Podclass Pro, with the amount of information available on the internet, the
Yeah.
best way to educate yourself is with the click of a button. So thank you, Francesco, for joining us today. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
So if you go to francescorulli.com, it's my digital twin. You can talk to me digitally. I receive about 20 conversations a day categorized by my AI, and I receive reports on that. You can actually also inquire about scheduling a call or a meeting or connecting on LinkedIn. And the company is called Querlo, Querlo.com is the website. There is Querli, who is a nice brunette with glasses. She's my digital assistant. So either you try and talk to my digital twin or my digital assistant, and we can do something together, taking from there. Okay?
Alrighty. Alrighty. Once again, guys, thank you all for watching, and thank you again to Francesco. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.